Hello there, everyone. It's Emma, the designer at Bespoke Backdrops and Branding. I'm kind of all rugged up here because it's a little bit chilly outside today. Yes, clients. Who is your client? I often say to my clients, my branding clients, that they are actually not my real clients. Their clients are my clients. Because when I'm designing a brand identity or any visuals for their business, it's got to appeal to their clients, because once they're using the brand identity, those are the people that are going to be seeing it. So my clients are actually your clients. So I want you to understand who your clients are. And when you work with me in a brand strategy session, and a lot of designers do this, and they really should do this, you have to understand who that client is. And so I create something called a client identity board. And I create like a mood board that is a representation of the ideal client. It's a composite. This person doesn't really exist, but using the information from the strategy session, which often lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours, we glean so much information about your competitive landscape, your client. I mean, all kinds of things go into a brand strategy before you even design a logo, before any sort of pen hits the paper. And one of them is understanding who your client is. And it's not about just guessing, going, well, I think she's 35 years old, and I think she does this, and I think she does that. It's not just a verbal description of your client. It's understanding who your clients have previously been. A lot of my clients have already been in business for a while. They understand their client base. Or they're moving into a new client base and they understand who they want to attract. But sometimes it's really hard to nail it down. So you go through a strategy where you actually work out who this ideal client is. And what I do is then I translate that into visuals. So it's not just a case of the words of who this client is, it's the aesthetic world around this client. Where does she go shopping? What does she buy? What books does she read? Does she have any apps on her phone? Where does she live? What does she drive? When she goes on holiday, what does she look at? So we're trying to build an aesthetic sort of world around this client. So the things that she's seeing on a daily basis, what does it actually look like in visual terms? Because when I'm designing the brand, when you're thinking about where your brand has to fit, it has to feel like it fits in your ideal client's world. So let me just share my screen with you and show you what I mean by a client identity board and how it's put together. Bear with me for 1 second. Where are we? Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is a client identity board for a client of mine who I was designing a full brand identity for, brand strategy. She is a spiritual business coach. So she was very clear on who her clients were. They lived in a modern eclectic style. They might collect rugs or artifacts from their travels. They certainly would think of being plant-based or at least vegetarian. They love their fresh juices. They live a healthy lifestyle. They're quite eco-conscious as well. They try as much as they can to buy plastic-free beauty products. But they will go out and splurge as well. They do like also the finer things in life. They'll have their champagne. They'll have the girls around for dinner. Women are a really important part of this ideal client's life. She might have been reading Big Magic, some spiritual books, some real personal development books that make you think differently. So I just created this composite of who Patrice is. We named her Patrice. So when I was designing the brand out for my client, I could always reference back to who does this brand need to appeal to. So let me just share another example of a brand customer identity. Let me share my screen again. So this is a client identity board for an equestrian business, a horsey business. And my clients actually come up with a composite name for her ideal client called Jerillium. And I think she came up with that name as a composite of some of her favorite clients that she has right now. So anyway, I needed to understand who this business was aimed towards and what was in her life. So Jerillium is a mother of children, much older children. So finally she's got the time to really follow her dream to become a much better horse rider. So she spends a lot of time in the stables. She loves her tack room, mucking out with the horses. Definitely drives a four-wheel drive so she can bung all the kit in there. She follows a few really big coaches, horse riding coaches in the States and Australia. She reads equestrian books. She definitely has a phone case that has a horse on it. She does have aspirations. So you'll see at the top right-hand side, there's a house with stables. She would love, if she won the lottery, she would love to live in a house like that. She would love to buy Ariat boots. She'd love a really expensive saddle. But the reality is that that's aspirational to her, but she doesn't. She buys sort of the mid-level of equipment, lots of matching things for her horse. It's all very accessory driven, this world. So I had to dive into who Julian was. So when I'm designing for my client and her equestrian business, I know exactly the visuals I need to aim for, to pitch it just right to attract this ideal client. So when you're thinking about branding, do not just think about, oh, the colors that I like, the style I like. It's not about you. It's not even about me, the designer. It's about your ideal client. And there is a real power in understanding who she is and what she does every day. So that when you're designing and thinking about your brand identity, your messaging, your voice, the tone of your brand, that it fits beautifully in her business. I'm doing a client at the moment, and I can't show you her client identity board because we haven't finished the project yet. But it's quite a big beauty brand, health and wellness supplement brand from the States. And she's very clear on who her ideal client is. And when we were going through the process, she had so many light bulb moments when we were discussing, you know, what else her client might be buying, where else does she go, what else is she seeing. And through getting through the strategy, we actually came up with a brand identity that was very different actually from what she thought she needed. She'd struggled for a while with trying to put this brand identity together with her in-house designers, and they only got to a certain point in their branding. They could only get a certain amount done because they didn't understand who they were actually designing for. They understood the brand that they were creating, but they didn't understand who that brand needed to appeal to. So they came to me, we did a big strategy session, a design session, and I came up with the client identity board. And she just looked at it and went, that is bang on. That is exactly the type of client I want to appeal to. And then we went through the stylescapes and what she thought she wanted first for her brand identity. We actually ended up scrapping by the end of our first review session, because the mixture of the ideal client and the competitive landscape, what everyone else is doing in the industry, and she did not want to be the same as everybody else, and looking at the stylescapes, and the second stylescape I created for her was like something she'd not thought of before. So when it comes to thinking about your client, make sure that your brand attracts that client. Because I could have gone, oh, I'm doing a health and beauty product, and designed something that would attract a teenager, which is not the audience she's going for. There's such different visual vernacular that goes into marketing and designing for the teenage demographic, the teenage group, to someone who's maybe in their 30s, 40s and 50s. So you need to know who your clients are. It's not just about what you like. So think about your client. What else does she buy and see on an everyday basis? And how can your brand identity and your brand visuals slot neatly into that so that you are the first choice and the right choice for her or him when they're making a decision on buying? So I hope that's been helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I actually still do a happy dance every time someone subscribes. It means so much to me. I'm certainly not going viral at the moment, much as I'd love to. It's just, you know, I would need your support. I would love you to follow my channel, like this video, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about identifying your client, whether you've had some good experiences with doing that or you're stuck with something. Just leave a comment below and I'll be happy to reply to you. All right then, bye.